Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend. Slightly behind schedule. Our deepest apologies. Now, my guest this morning is Chief Abdullahi. If I were to continue, well, let me just stop there and say Chief Abdullahi. But I'm going to surprise you by saying the continuation is Tony Dania.
Thank you very much.
Chief Abdullahi Tony Dania. Hi, Tony. Great to have you again. It's been quite a while. Chief Tony Dania is a lawyer and a public commentator, as well as a rights activist. Now, talking about rights activism, you see that it's going all sorts of places. What's the name of the infamous, notorious kidnapper?
Evans.
There you go, Evans. I understand that there are some people who are along the lines of let Evans go. I mean, there's nothing we won't see in our society. Yes. But we'll come to that maybe because we stay on the theme of corruption. And the Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, was speaking in his native Kwara State yesterday, I believe. No, the day before yesterday, I think. It was at the annual Ramadan election. Now, the long and short of Lai Mohammed's, what I've taken out of what he was responding to the press is, the question was, look, the APC government is unfairly targeting members of opposition in the whole war against corruption. And so to that extent, this war against corruption, to critics, it doesn't mean so much to them because it's only opposition figures. Of course, Lai explained. Yes. But first of all, let me take your perspective on that very point.
Yes. To some extent, the Lai is correct because the PDP has been in governance for about 16 years, you know, and...
when you say Lai is correct, actually I didn't get to telling you his response, but you know it already.
Yes.
Because when you say Lai is correct, what you mean is you agree with his response, which was that, wait a minute, for the past 16 years, the opposition, former opposition PDP was in power, yes, and the only person that had access to public funds.
Yes.
So that is the point.
Yes, and the corruption is narrowed down to looting of public funds.
Yes. Well, corruption is, as you know, is much more than that, but that's a main plank of it.
Yes, apart from looting funds,
yes,
the system was corrupted.
Okay.
Processes, due diligence were not followed in so many areas.
Okay.
A lot of persons, the Nigerians, were complaining. Nobody was listening to complaint. You know, it was as if they were trying to tactically legitimize corrupt practices during that era, with respect. You know, it was not all the PDP top politicians that were corrupt, but a lot of corrupt persons were under the PDP. And don't forget that Nigerian politicians are very good at, you know, jumping from one party to the other when they are sure they're going to get a leverage. The body language of the presidents had indicated that, well, if you are coming to APC because you want to come and make money, it might not be as easy as it was. And some of these politicians from PDP have moved to APC.
That's the problem.
Yes. So, but
in moving into APC, won't they become transformed, as it were? Isn't there? Don't you think there's some sort of a sieve so that coming from wherever you are into APC, you go through the sieve, which strains out the corruptive elements of you, and then only the good man passes through into APC.
Yeah, well, you are correct in that saying.
Am I correct?
Yes, yes.
That was a joke.
No, you are correct, even though it was satiric. But I just want to add that some members of the APC have also been fingered in corrupt practices. Okay,
in defense of the statement, right?
Yes.
Come on, it's not just former opposition members.
Exactly.
Well, not so much former, current opposition members who used to be in the ruling party.
Yes.
It's not just them, is what you're saying.
Yes, and the fight against corruption I've noticed are being fought on the page of newspapers and press, sorry to say.
Well, that's
and I think even though Magu is doing well, but I think there are three key things that he needed to do. One, the federal government must face the reality of welfare of security personnel. Police, EFCC, SSS. Are they being taken care of? Those that they are not committed to this job. You need to know the salary of the average policeman, and they say they cannot shout. The same thing, the judiciary. The judiciary is the arm of government that does not have a public relations officer that will speak for them. So people like us must talk for them. I'm disappointed to some extent in Sagi For God's sake, if you criticize the judiciary openly, you discourage investors. The judiciary is the last hope of the man. It's a last resort. When you try to settle issues, you go to the judiciary. I am aware of courts where the judge will buy a generator and buy fuel by himself. I've attended courts like that. So what is the federal government? And the judiciary had to wait for the executive to get money.
But to return to the charge, because it does impinge on the authenticity, shall we say, of the whole process of a war against corruption. If it's going to be authentic, then it must be seen to not be a witch hunt. And I guess that's the whole point. That, look, when the question was put by a journalist from This Day newspaper, that, look, what do you say to the concept that it's only opposition that is getting, that is going through the mill?
No, we've said that before. It is not only opposition. It looks like it is only opposition because the PDP has been in power for so long, and they have access to government activities, funds, and all that. So they help themselves personally to these funds. They corrupt the system and compromise the system.
Allegedly.
Yes.
Allegedly.
Well, let me make a point clear. When you are investigating a matter, whether it is corruption or any other matter, I suggested to then the Commissioner of Police, Tunde Ogunsaki, that retired as AIG, that look, bring a lawyer who is good in prosecution to be part of investigation of your cases. Because normally, when you investigate a case and you conclude your investigations, you do your investigation reports and forward the case file to the legal section of either the police or the EFCC or DSS or whatever. The legal section, they will look at the file and decide whether there's a prima facie case. But you see, that could take time. And that is why you grant administrative bail, you ask the person to come for the legal section to decide. But my advice, and the CP took it then, Ogunshaki, was to bring persons from the legal section or any lawyer you have in mind to be informally part of the investigation so that they can lead you. Look at this Evans case. They are making so much noise now. The Criminal Procedure Act has been repealed by a new act, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015. You must comply with the procedure. If you don't comply with the procedure, you don't come and blame a judge. Or you say they are not doing well. I'm surprised that EFCC, if it is true, are already trying to intimidate the chairman of the Code of Conduct Bureau. That's wrong. The tribunal, I mean. It's wrong. The federal government is also, the presidency is also accusing him. I had Obla, the special advisor on legal matter to the president, also, I read in the papers, also saying that they are going to appeal. For God's sake, the judges are doing their job. If you want to prosecute, it starts from investigations. It goes through legal. If you cannot succeed in that case, go and investigate. Don't take a case to court because of a passion and sentiment. No, take a case to court when you are sure you are going to succeed in getting a conviction.
Which is some sort of a relative, so to speak, to the other charge of trial by media, to which, you know, that was another question that was put, because I think these guys were just seizing the opportunity to take some of the burning issues on their mind, on everybody's mind, actually. And this whole trial by media thing, how much of a leg do you think that has? By which I mean that, well, what the minister had responded to that is that, wait a minute, whatever is noteworthy, the press is going to cover. So where does that whole trial by media thing come? That was his response. I don't know if you buy that or if you buy into that. That he gave examples. We went to some place, we found $100 million in somebody's fridge. We found so much money in somebody's. So the press is going to want to cover that, and then the other side might shout trial by media. Which, you see how I related it to what you're saying?
Yes. You see, people read and listen to news. It influences their perception and impression. And that was why when the president of the Senate, Bukola Saraki, was discharged and acquitted, you see people shouting, no, the judges must have compromised. How can he be discharged and acquitted? Look, when you take a case to court, it's either you win or you lose it. If you are not prepared for your case, you will lose. If the defense counsel, Agabi is very sound, we all know him. If the defense counsel can exploit anything legally to defend his client, well, so be it. You don't blame the judge. You should be prepared for your case. When I read the clips of the pieces of the judgment, And the judge, with respect, I can make a fair comment, even though I know it's a subject of appeal. For now, the tribunal was correct. If the prosecution has not proved its case, they shouldn't be crying. You don't celebrate a case and make people think you've already won the case in the court, so that when you now lose that case, people start crying foul.
Well, I don't know what you mean by celebrate a case to make people
For example, when you stumble on a clue, the next thing everybody is aware. A clue is supposed to help you gather more intelligence, enhance your further investigation, come up with concrete facts and evidence that will enable you to establish a prima facie case.
I agree with you entirely, Tony,
Yes.
but a clue is not a... I was going to say a clue is a clue, but you can say in some instances a clue is hardly a clue. $100 million US clue, for example. How are you going to handle that and nobody's going to know about it?
Let me tell you something. The Administration of Criminal Justice Act has stated how confession should be made.
Yes.
Now everybody is saying Evans is making confession. If he did not make that confession in accordance with the provision of that act, a smart lawyer would defend him. And now you now say, oh, with all this confession he has made, he was discharged and acquitted. For God's sake, lawyers who will prosecute should be involved to guide investigators during investigations.
Okay. You see, I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
You know, I'm a fan of crime stories from other lands on cable television. And I see part of what you're saying, by which I mean sometimes the lawyer for the defense might just shut down and say, don't answer any questions, just refer everything to me. And the police have to respect that. So you find a case where they say, well, as soon as his lawyer arrived, he just shut down the cooperation that we were getting from him. And that's legitimate. I understand that, at least in their jurisdiction. That's the kind of thing, fairness, right? Something about where whatever is found.
In Nigeria here, what the law says about confession is that the lawyer to the suspects that is making confession must be there.
Yes.
In addition to that, the Lagos State Act of 2011 stated that there must be video coverage. Video coverage of the confession.
Okay, yeah.
So all this must be complied with. Otherwise, technically, and I heard Professor Sage almost saying that we should exploit other things. For God's sake, we cannot derode the authority of the judiciary.
Nobody's saying that.
Inviting anarchy. I am not saying
Nobody's
that we
saying
don't have corrupt judges.
Yeah, exactly.
Good, we have.
Nobody's saying that.
A judge that is corrupt is like any other corrupt person in the society, except that people look up and hold him in high esteem because he's a judge. But he's still a human being.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be crying for further reform of the judiciary.
Exactly.
It's because the rules as they stand now, but somehow the cracks are a bit too wide between all the provisions, and people are able to slip through them. And so you know that a person, I think you lawyers and police people call it probable cause, that there is probable cause that this is a matter that's just about almost so. Nevertheless, it can be thrown out, as you said, for all sorts of technical reasons. Now, the Saraki case that you bring up, that brought up a whole furore.
Yes.
You know, brought up a whole furore. But the decision is the way it is, pending appeal. It's because, I imagine, law is for society, right? Law is made for the good guidance of society, for the woolly guidance of society, so that the whole thing doesn't become a jungle.
No, but there is a procedure.
There is a procedure, but that procedure cannot be thwarted and circumscribed and twisted and done everything to. You know what I'm talking about. And if all else fails, one big man actually ended up in jail. And what happened? He sprung jail.
Yes.
We're still investigating that one, right?
Yes.
According to the rules and procedure, right?
Yes.
Oh.
You cannot go to jail except you are sent on remand or you are convicted. It's either you are taken to court and your bail is pending. It depends on the allegation.
I know.
Good. So on the Bukola Saraki case, you see, there's so much noise were made. And I don't know what happened because the prosecuting counsel, Rotimi Jacob, I know him very well. He's an intelligent lawyer. I am surprised. He has won a lot of cases. Most of the cases that made the FCC tick under Ribadu, it was Rotimi Jacob. So I am very, very surprised that he allowed this to happen. And if we are going to look at it...
I'm here. I accept what you're saying. Yeah. But when you say allow this to happen, so many people, your good self included, have just testified to the professionalism of Rotimi Jacobs and all of that. But even the federal government said that, even the Attorney General, the person in charge of prosecution for the federal side says that they were astounded at the ruling handed down. They were astounded, and they're not novice lawyers. They were astounded that given the whole body of evidence, that the matter was dismissed, no case submission. So a higher court is probably going to have to rule on it again.
See,
no,
I think
not so.
Yeah, the Court of Appeal. But you see, at the Court of Appeal, if what they did...
sorry, let me just include Mr. Gandhi calling in from Alagbado. Good morning, Mr. Gandhi. We lost that call. Yes, please.
Yes, I was going to say that if you have evidence and you don't lead the evidence or you don't lead them well, it will count against you. About cases where we have the prosecuting counsel, because this case is so sensationalized, giving wide publications, and the prosecuting counsel got carried away. He called over 15 prosecution witnesses. There is bound to be contradictions. You understand? Now, in this particular case, I read...
Are you therefore saying that what you're saying, not being a lawyer myself, I need your help here. Are you saying that if he had limited it to 1 or 2 witnesses, then it might have been a more straightforward case?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that...
You said there is bound to be...
If you call too many witnesses, there is a likelihood...
Do you know how many witnesses were called on the Bill Cosby case?
I'm giving you an analogous case.
Okay.
Not this particular Bukola Saraki's case.
Yeah, but that's the point I was trying to make.
In Bukola Saraki's case, I read the judgment or ruling of the court.
Yes.
Good. And the chairman was saying that there was no evidence laid to prove the ingredient of the alleged offenses for which Bukola Saraki was charged.
And most members of the public don't agree with that.
Members of the public, what you should be telling me is that most lawyers, it will make sense to me with respect.
Yeah, it's law for the lawyers or it's law for society?
Yeah, but...
No. It's law for lawyers or law for society?
It's law for society, but it is managed by lawyers, judges, and those that go to court.
Okay, agree with you there. Mr. George, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in.
Uncle Yori, please permit me to disagree with some of the statements your guest just made.
Sure.
He said Professor Sage was wrong in condemning corruption in the judiciary.
That's not what I said.
And he again said that the prosecution did a bad job in the case of Saraki with CCT, even though he commended the prosecution lawyer in what he did in other cases. I beg to disagree. The case of Professor Sage, he is a learned lawyer. Everybody knows this. If there is corruption somewhere, because he is a lawyer or is a member of the judiciary, does that make him, precluded from condemning it? What is wrong is wrong, wherever it is found. Have you? I don't know if he has examined the things that Professor Sage is condemning. A judge gave a verdict and jailed somebody. And the person, because he's an elite, he's a former governor, he was fraudulently removed from jail and granted a so-called bail. Today, he's nowhere to be found. And the person who is advising government about the judiciary, you expect him to applaud that? He talked about prosecution deficit in the case of Saraki. 19 charges were preferred against one person. And the only thing that was used to dismiss the whole 19 charges is that he was not written a letter when, to come and explain what he has already filled in a form.
That's not true.
I Googled it and I saw that form of the CCB. In that form, you verify that what you have stated there is correct. And there is a witness to support that what you stated there is correct. So in a way, that form, what you have written there, what you have filled there, is a statement. The CCB will now go and investigate what you have seen, what you have filled there. And if they find any contradictory thing, they prosecute you for it. Do you expect them to come and call you and be negotiating with you? Oh, what we saw you wrote down is not correct. Bribery will take place, and then that will be the end of the case?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. George. Thank you for calling in. You wanted to take exception to aspects of what he said.
I did not say that
Professor Sage was wrong.
Yeah, I said you cannot use the word blanket accusation that judiciary is corrupt. You can't say that. There are still some good judges. And I want to maintain that position. And I went
Even
on
Professor
to say,
Sage has that position.
Good, and I want them to say that if a judge is corrupt, treat that judge like any other person. There is no judicial immunity against the arrest of a judge. The judge only has the immunity when he's doing his matter in the court. You cannot arrest the judge. When the judge commits an offense, it's like any other suspect. You can invite the judge. Maybe because he's a judge, you invite the judge. I am saying that the reaction of Professor Sage with respect came after the discharge of the president of the Senate. I am saying that he should have piqued interest in the prosecution, but everybody was carried away with the publication.
Okay, thank you very much. What we're looking at, because it's kind of getting a bit diffused, but we're looking at the whole war against corruption and the charge by, no doubt, those that are not, protagonists of it, that the war against corruption is hardly authentic. It's being used against political enemies and so on and so forth. So we're examining that charge. Mazi Okoro Afo, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Sir Yori. Good morning, our guests in the studio.
Thank you.
Honestly speaking, Mr. Yori, the war or the fight against corruption in Nigeria is a welcome development. But the question now is that we should ask ourselves, the whole thing now has now turned to the war against hatred. What do you have in mind?
The war against?
Now,
War against
what? War against what?
Hatred. That is hatred. That's because I hate Mr. A or Mr.
Hatred.
Okay, a war of hatred.
War of hatred.
Yes.
Okay.
War of hatred.
Okay.
And the man outside now wants the judge to take decision according to his own concept, which is not wrong. Like our commentator already said, the case, he said that the judiciary should follow the constitution. That is what I so love in that statement. Because we have a constitution in this country. What I should advise Nigerians is this. When a case comes up, we too, the lay people or the learned people who have access to constitution, they should sit down and within themselves now, do the practice within themselves. If I'm to be a judge in such a case, what type of decision will I take? Exactly. So that when we when we summarize a particular judgment, we now know exactly we are on the right track. We have to learn that theory of to forgive and to forget. Look, every day, open newspaper, open a radio, television, everything. What we be hearing? Corruption. Where is what we have recovered? Where is the money? Are we going to eat corruption? Are we going to die with corruption? What do we do? Every day corruption. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Now, when he says, are we going to eat corruption? Is corruption all over the place? That shows you how much of a cancer it had become. The Minister of Information said that since the policy on whistleblowing was floated, somewhere in the region of, if I'm not mistaken, 8 billion naira, over 100, certainly well over $100 million. All of those monies have been recovered. Some of them, people ran away, refused to even claim ownership. There are some humongous sums that nobody is willing to claim.
Yes.
So that goes to show you that things were pretty far gone.
Yeah, but Prof. Sage also suggested that the EFCC can exploit the official procedure in the EFCC Act, which is okay. They have been exploiting it.
When you say exploiting, okay, I'm going to come back to that. Akin is calling in from the UK. Good morning, Akin.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you, sir.
And good morning to you, Mr. Tony.
Good morning.
Apparently, I am in total agreement with Mr. Daniel. And there's a reason why I am...
Which aspect? Which aspect of what Chief Daniel is saying? Which aspect?
Everything he has said, everything he has said, he is in conformity with the reality on ground.
Please continue.
In conformity with the reality on ground. And that is that you cannot shy away from the way the prosecution has carried this case, especially the Saraki case. Now, if you remember, I called about 4 weeks ago and I told you on this program that I am a little bit weary about the way the prosecution is going on about this case, and most of the cases in particular. I disagree with George. I heard him earlier. I disagree with him. And I disagree sometimes. You see, I disagree with the likes of he is a legal luminary does not mean he is a judge. He cannot judge a case. He's only a lawyer. You understand me? The facts before the court were what the court determined. And that's the reality on ground. There's nothing we can do about that. If you go to the appeal court, I can guarantee you, I'm telling you right now, they're going to come back and the federal government is going to lose on this case. Because already the judge has given a comprehensive submission about what the case entails. There's nothing we can do about that, except you have fresh evidence against the man. But even I followed the case. I followed the case because I was in Nigeria. I followed most of the case, and most of the prosecution witnesses, you understand me, were in tandem. In fact, they were even praising Saraki that he had nothing. They didn't know. They don't know whether he was linked to one property or the other. Even the GTB Bank said. So even the GTB Bank told us that the evidence, the documents they have, fire court. So fire court that. How are you going to? Are you going to send Saraki to jail because fire court GTB? Excuse me, please. Let's wake up to that reality.
All right, then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling in, Akin.
Taking it on from Akin's
point
of view.
So remember that the central point of our conversation is whether or not the war against corruption is being fairly waged, and whether or not it is a witch hunt.
The presidency, with respect, is becoming jittery. That it's like they are losing the war on corruption. No, they are not. What is
why do you think the authorities are feeling that way?
Because of this reaction over this Bukola thing from the presidency. I've read what the prof is saying. Definitely, the presidency is not happy. I've read what Obla said. You know, the person that I've not heard much about is the AG himself.
I don't know. So well, when you say jittery, they just said that they're surprised.
They are feeling bad.
They say they're surprised.
But this Bukola
astounded.
Thing, a lot of high-profile corruption cases are being lost. Few are lost. They lost recently. This Bukola own was, the most recent. Now, they should sit down and ask, what are we supposed to do that we have not done? If document got burned, we have what we call certified copy. You can get out a printer, bring an evidence that the document got burned. The statement made that incriminated Saraki, according to the chairman of the tribunal, was not even tendered. I don't want to go into the details of that.
Because
Yeah, because if they go to appeal, they will be going to appeal based on the judgment and the evidence that led to the judgment as canvassed by both the defense and the prosecuting counsel. That's what they'll be going with. And I've read that judgment. If they go with that, with utmost respect, I don't see the Court of Appeal. With utmost respect, I don't want to sound
I know you've explained how the lawyers are one thing, society is another, and society has to benefit from rule of law through the lawyers, who are trained in such matters. I'm going to come back to the point because sometimes we forget what the actual issue is and then look at the processes. If the processes are wrong, a criminal just might walk. But let me not lose Peter calling in from Warri. We've already lost Peter in Warri. The concept of wrong in society is one thing. Now, it has to be processed by the law, that concept, because lawyers often say that, well, sorry, you're unlearned about these matters, so that's what's going on here. The concept, sometimes it's very, very strong, it's palpable, people feel that, look, there is so much evidence, they're not trained lawyers, I agree. There's so much evidence, I don't even have to know the law to know that this man has a big case to answer. And then, when in the wisdom and legal sagacity, the system says, no case. You can understand there will be an uproar. Let me go on a break, and then when we come back, we'll have more time so that there won't be any interruptions. Right. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back, and we'll keep taking. Okay, good. Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. Well, it was Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, who was explaining, over the weekend that people who thought that the war against corruption was anything but that, and that it had overtones of, what is it now, witch hunting, just we're missing the point. So we've been airing that particular aspect of it. Who, he said, has been in power for the past 16 years. Who, he said, has had access to government funds in the past 16 years. That's one mini answer to it. The other question that was asked him was, look, in terms of rule of law and all of that, how well do you think the administration is doing? We got the former National Security Advisor. He's still in detention. Dasuki is still in detention. We've got Zakzaki. He's also in detention, even though courts have indeed said that these guys should be released on bail. That hasn't happened. And he said that's because national security is involved, and that no administration is going to take national security lightly. You got a comment on that?
Yes, I don't agree with the authority for that. The Attorney General of the Federation should know what to do if you want to continue to keep somebody in detention because of security reason. You go to court.
You go to court. Okay, let me take Mr. Elijah Martins calling in from Ikorodu, and then you'll continue. Sorry about that. Good morning, Mr. Martins.
Good morning, Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
I'm calling from Ikorodu, Elijah Martins. You see, two things I want to highlight. The character of the tribunal judge, Danladi, is a suspect. I think right from the start,
Mr. Martins, Mr. Martins, we can't impinge the reputation of a judge on air. We can't do that.
Okay, if I think he's a Nigerian and he's part of the discourse. Okay, I take it. All right. Now, the second point, let me just go to the second point. The second point is this. Corruption is extremely rich, very, very rich, richer than all the people put together trying to fight against it. And that is why we should accept that for corruption to win in this country, we've got to put in almost double what corruption is.
For the fight against corruption,
yes,
for the fight against corruption to be won.
All of us in Nigeria have got to put our hands together and everything we have together to fight this corruption. Unfortunately, we are not. 98% of Nigerians are very corrupt. Sorry, I can't hear you, but I can see you are.
We can hear you.
Yeah, you are gesticulating. Okay. That's my own take. We need more concerted effort. Not only Buhari, not only the vice president, not only Yori Polani, not only Laja, but the whole populace.
Indeed.
We need to have our mindset changed.
All hands have to be on deck, right? Thank you very much, Mr. Martins.
Yes,
all hands have to be on deck.
Yes.
But sometimes the way things are going, well, Mr. Martins there was saying 98% of us are all corrupt. One understands the hyperbole because anywhere you turn, there's always, unfortunately, some aspect of, what can be done about it? This is just, how do we settle it? So there's all of that going on.
Yes,
and but that's what he means when he says all hands have to be on deck. It's a very big problem. Look at your offices, look at your sisters, your families, and nobody wants to do the right thing.
By the grace of God, we're going to get there. This corruption thing started long ago. I don't want to mention name. It started as early as the 80s when certain military persons took over.
Okay.
And the corruption became almost legalized and institutionalized.
It became we've come
generic.
Away from there. We've come away from there.
It was embedded in all.
It became embedded then.
Yes.
Oh dear.
So
let me come back to the point. I got to take Abe calling in from Joburg in South Africa. Good morning, Abe.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Yes, this is a wonderful program, and God will bless you richly.
Very kind of you.
I just have two questions to ask. My number one question is individual richer than the federal government of Nigeria? That's my first question.
Say that again. Say that again.
How can Saraki provide up to 15 SAN and additional 80 lawyers to defend him?
Okay,
and the Nigerian government can only pay for only one SAN.
I didn't hear the first question.
My question is, how can Nigerian government only to be able to pay for only one SAN to defend a suspect? And I mean to defend a case. And Saraki can provide up to 15 SAN and other numerous additional lawyers to defend him in court. Does that mean Saraki is richer than the Nigerian government, or does that mean the corruption we are fighting is just a fighting by the face and not by the bottom?
Sure.
That's my question.
Thank you very much. This again goes to the matter of perception in the public arena.
Yes, but it also, it is, the squirrel has just 2 teeth, and it can crack a palm kernel, which 24 teeth of a human being cannot break. So it is not the number of lawyers that you have that makes a case. There's a young EFCC lawyer I've been admiring, Rotimi Oyedepo, and he has been faced with artillery of lawyers. Sometimes, coincidentally, I'm in court, and I admire the way he's carrying out his duty. You see, now, those who are officially saddled with the responsibility of arresting corruption or fighting corruption, are they being taken care of? That is a very serious issue.
Well, you see, wrapped in Abe's question, it goes down to the whole matter of the methodology of prosecution, of the way Nigeria prosecutes its case. Look, he asks a rhetorical question. Nigeria can afford 2,000 SANs if that was what they wanted.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that it is not the number of lawyers.
That is why I'm saying it goes back to the methodology that we're talking about now.
The society.
Yes.
Now, what I want to say is that I have stated it before. If you hear of a case, your first thing is probably investigate. Before now, the AFCC will arrest before investigating. Right in this program, I've said it severally that investigate before you arrest. Now, when you investigate and there is need to arrest, if you are arresting, that shows you have a good case. This idea of arresting when you don't have a good case must be discouraged. You investigate and you arrest, and after arresting, you continue your investigation.
I don't know if EFCC is still doing that, but they have been criticized in the past, and I don't know.
No, they have improved.
Mr. Yakub, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Chief Yori. And then good morning to the man in the studio. Chief Yori, for me, I quite agree with Mr. George. Hello, sir. Are you listening to me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I say I'm totally agree with Mr. George. He has said this all. But having said that, Chief Yori, I think we are going to continue in this kind of situation we find ourselves until, because the last caller made a very, very valid point here. How come the Nigerian state, as a whole, can be able to avoid just a one time to prosecuting that case, and then the very particular person that are taken to court has enough resources to hire as many as you can, like almost 20 sons, to go and face only Rotimi Jacob. See, Chief Yori, another thing that I think we can do in this country, if we want to get it right, is this. Everybody that they caught as a corrupt leader or whatever, they should be pronounced them guilty until they go proving themselves innocent in the court of law. Because Saraki as a person, he makes sure that he uses his position to get that court judgment. If not, they can be able to pronounce him guilty, and then when he goes to the court of law, he will go.
Before you go, Yakub, the central plank, what's your take on the whole matter about the war on corruption being a witch hunt, according to the opposition?
Okay, fine, Chief. I don't expect them to say anything rather than that. Come to think of it, somebody is in the government for 16 years, and then another person is opposition, other side. And then fortunately the opposition then is not come to power. Are you telling me that you are upon that power for 16 years? So they just sit down and look at you that are free for corruption. Am I going to prosecute my member that I'm just taking in the government today? You hold the government for 16 years for God's sake. How can you be complaining that you are prosecuting prosecuting you. And are they going to come and carry me the document here that I'm the one running the government?
Exactly. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I don't want to return to that central plank.
Before we go there, let me quickly say something. You see, there are certain challenges that the government prosecutors are faced with that nobody is talking about. I have prosecuted cases for the government. As a matter of fact, I was doing one. In that case, I discovered that there are some money in millions of dollars that are still hidden somewhere in Egypt by the perpetrators. I started the prosecution of those that killed GovBank. The AG took it without minding that somebody was prosecuting. It was through the police that I was prosecuting that case. Now, the witnesses are often those that investigated the matter. By the time you are in court, they have been transferred out of this place where they were when the matter was investigated. Getting them to come is logistics and it's not easy. So this is part of the problem prosecutors are faced with. And the welfare of government officials saddled with the responsibility of fighting corruption, arresting corruption, and prosecuting those who are perceived to be corrupt. They are not nobody's taking care of that. The police still receive 49,000 naira. I don't know what the EFCC personnel is receiving. The man that is recovering billions. Yeah. So the government must take care of this and provide the wherewithal.
Okay, Mr. Okoye, calling in from River State, what do you think about the whole concept of maybe the war against corruption is a witch hunt?
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
What I think about corruption is that because of, I feel like we are lacking understanding in that issue of corruption.
We are lacking.
If Nigeria can have a platform and understand that, like, even before you start a building, there must be we lack of understanding. A plan.
Must be a plan.
So there must be a plan before building.
That's true.
Okay.
When we focus on corruption, everybody focus on money, people that pollute Nigeria pocket or whatever. When the old man at 80 years seated at the seat made for his first son or the second son, is it not a corruption?
Yes. But Mr. Okoye, Mr. Okoye, can I just ask you, what do you think about the charge that this whole war against corruption is being used to witch hunt certain persons? That it isn't as sincere as we're made to believe?
Yes, we need to believe that corruption is when you call corruption, corruption means a lot different things.
Okay, thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Okoye. Appreciate your call. There was a delay, and I think Mr. Okoye liked listening to himself a bit. Yes. But I don't know. I think from what he was saying, I think he did say that there is no doubt that corruption exists.
Yes.
But because of the delay, he didn't get to then addressing the question about how fair is the charge.
No, he made a good point when he said, he drew up an analogy that when you are building, you need a plan.
Sure.
And when you get the plan, that's what you
were saying. You do all your investigations, and then you arrest. Exactly. Sometimes investigations can take 2 years, 3 years, whatever it takes.
Exactly. Now, I went on to say that the welfare of police and members of other security agencies must be taken care of. The way excuse me, you are aware that Nigerian police sent outside the country for peacekeeping have been awarded prizes several times.
Yeah, but I must say that here, sorry, sir. What we're talking about here is just the concept of the skepticism of some Nigerians about the war against corruption. All of those things you're saying are excellent, and they are true. Yes. But that skepticism with a minority, let it be said. The skepticism is only with a minority. Most people, the majority, believe that this is a fit and proper thing to be doing, and to be doing it with vigor. But then people are saying that it's not sincere. It's never turned at everybody evenly. And that,
no, but some APC members that are corrupt have been arrested.
We have someone on the line. Ishak in Jos. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling in. Sure.
Ishak Iwaim, I'm calling from Jos. Hello, Mr. Yori. I don't expect anything less from the opposition because they will claim that this fight is targeted towards them. Who then will government target corruption towards? These are PDP governed the country for good 16 years. So obviously they were in charge of fund that is meant for the country. So if at all we have financial corruption in the system, I think over 90% will be from PDP. However, I think if government is really serious in fighting corruption, then we should start seeing big people do all this early. We should start seeing them in jail. I think they should. Maybe our criminal justice system need overhauling. Because a situation whereby a judge will throw away cases that because of lack of evidence, I think judges too should be using their discretion to at least prosecute offenders. Because you can't explain how else did you say public officers to explain the billions he has acquired. These are people that even if they work for 100 or 200 years, they cannot accumulate such amount. And again, I think it is not even, I would suggest life imprisonment so that without option of fine, if those that accumulated money through corrupt means could not find any means to enjoy their loot, I think it will serve as deterrent to others.
Indeed.
I think enough of all these excuses. And I think EFCC should do its own work efficiently before going to work, before going to prosecute an offender.
Indeed.
And again, Mr. Yori, I think our lawyers are equally the problem. Because lawyers that are defending these corrupt people should also be prosecuted as accomplices. If these corrupt people don't have lawyers defending them, of course, they will have no case before judges. I think lawyers are equally the problem. That is my take. Have a wonderful day.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. Ishak.
I understand the passion generally and the sentiment people share in this thing. But the fact is that we have law. The alternative to law and order is anarchy. So we must be very, very careful. The system of prosecution we have here is that an accused person is presumed innocent. That is a constitutional provision under Section 36. The accused, even if he is caught red-handed, is presumed innocent. And if you can't, I just gave an example with Evans. If they are not well guided, they will mess up the thing. But you see how sensational it is. Now, has the confession been done in accordance with the Administration of Criminal Justice Act of 2015? You are creating a loophole. You must do it the way it's supposed to be done.
No, you don't know that it is not being done in the right way.
I have had him being, I've read his confession.
Yeah, you know, what I'm saying is that because they are professionals, they have made mistakes in the past. There's no reason to think that they're bungling this one.
And even talking about Evans is an opportunity to commend the police.
Oh.
I want to commend particularly the Assistant Commissioner of Police, Abba Kyari, that is heading the intelligent response team and the tactical team that is supporting them. And then the Lagos State government. The crime rate is more at Abuja and Lagos. The current CP Lagos, Fatai, has been doing so much to fight terrorism.
So
that brings me to security
that the police are not all, bumbling fools.
No.
They might have made mistakes in the past.
Yes, that brings us to security.
Well, actually, we're done, really. When I say we're done, we've just about run out of time. Looking at the charge that the corruption war, as the opposition is now saying, it's unfair, and so everybody is doing whatever they can to come out of the PDP and get into the APC. I had the joke at the beginning about a sieve and straining. But as I said, it's a vocal minority because, but the law, as Mr. Ishak said, the law, in a sense, aids them, the cumbersomeness of the law, and that's to make assurance doubly sure that only a guilty man is convicted. So much so that the law would even have the proverbial 100 or is it 10 men go free rather than one single guy. These are the issues that we're having to contend with, and sometimes they're contradictory. But all must be done. But as I said, we've completely run out of time. So one wrapping up statement in 30 seconds.
I think we've trashed the issue of corruption to some extent, and we cannot conclude all today. I want to use the opportunity to say that the federal government should obey court orders. Okay. If there's any reason to disagree with an order of the court, you go back to that court.
And we're going to leave it. We've got to leave it there. Thank you very, very much, Chief Abdullahi Tony Daniel, lawyer and public affairs commentator, as well as rights activist. Thank you very much for coming on. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.